Hello Year 4, it's Mrs Evans here again. I hope you're all fine. We're here to do another maths lesson, and in today's learning you're going to need a pencil and your home learning book. You might need a ruler depending on how you want to record your work, so I'll let you to decide whether you want to get that or not. Pause the video just for a moment while you get your things sorted. Okay, so in today's learning we're going to be using multiplication to solve correspondence problems. Okay, well, what's the point in this? What's the big picture? Well, correspondence problems are useful when you want to find all possible answers to a problem. When you've got one or more sets of objects and you want to find all possible answers, then these type of problems can be very useful. We're going to create some meal planners today in our maths lesson. So would you like to come and join me and see if you can help me to solve these problems with some food? Right, okay, so we're going to look at our starter activity first, and we're going to be looking at multiplying three single-digit numbers. Now, we've already done this in Year 4, but we're going to do a recap because it's really important that in today's learning you can remember how to multiply three numbers together. So we've got here 4 times 3 times 2. Now, if you remember, we can keep it in that order and do 4 times 3 and then multiply that answer by 2, or you can swap it round. So if I start off keeping my calculation in that order, we can do 4 times 3, which is 12, and then 12 times 2 is 24. You could, if you would prefer to, swap it round, and it might be that this is something that you'd prefer to do. You could do 2 times 3, which is 6, times 4, which is 24, 6 times 4 being 24. So when you're multiplying three numbers together, you can swap the numbers around, just as you can if you've got two numbers that you're multiplying together. Right, okay, so I've done the first one for you, so I'd like you now to have a little look at these three here. So pause the video for a moment and have a go at solving these three starter calculations. Remember, you can swap the order around if you need to. Join you in a minute. Okay, Year 4, how did you get on with that? Let's have a little look and see if we can check our answers together. So in this one, if we keep the calculation in the same order, we've got 3 times 3, which is 9, and then 9 times 4, which is 36. This one, we've got 7 times 1, which is 7, and then 7 times 6 is 42. And in this one, we've got 3 times 2, which is 6, times 5, which is 30. How did you get on with that? Right, okay, Year 4. So if you remember at the start, we talked about, we were working out some of these correspondence problems today, and I said that we were going to use that maths to solve some meal planners. So I've got some food here, and we've got 2 tins of soup as our starters for our meal planner, and then I've got 4 items for our main part of our meal. So we've got some pasta, then there's a pizza, and then there's some salad, and then there's a jacket potato, or baking potato as it is at the moment because we haven't cooked it yet. But anyway, so we've got 2 starters and 4 parts to our main course. What I want to know is how many different possible ways can I plan a meal with these items on the table? So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at a systematic approach, a method to be able to work out all the possible answers without missing any out or without having any repeats. So I'm going to start off with my tomato soup. And I'm going to keep with my tomato soup, I'm going to keep that the same. And then I'm going to come across to my meal, my main items for my meal, and I'm going to change one thing from these. So the tomato soup stays the same. So I've got tomato soup, and I could with that have some pasta. I could have tomato soup and pizza. I could have tomato soup and the salad, the tomato soup and the jacket potato. Now I've done all possible answers to go with the tomato soup. What I want you to do now is see if you can, in a moment, pause the video and see if you can work out which other possibilities there are with the chicken soup. What other meals could I make with the chicken soup and these main items here? Pause the video, have a go, and we'll join you in a moment. Okay, how did you get on with that then? So with the chicken soup, you can have chicken soup for starters, then you could have pasta. You could have chicken soup and pizza, chicken soup and the salad, and then the chicken soup and the jacket potato. We're going to go and have a look now at how we might record that mathematically. Right, okay, so we've just had a look at some food items to try to create a meal planner. And what we're going to do now, we're going to look at how we could record that now in our home learning books. So if we're going to record that, we could do it something like this. You'll notice that I've used a code because in maths we don't always want to write the words out all of the time. So I've decided to write TS for tomato soup and I've written CS for chicken soup. So for my possible answers, I see that I can have tomato soup for a starter and my pasta, I put PA and PI because we've got pasta and pizza, and then I've got tomato soup and pizza, tomato soup and the salad, tomato soup and the jacket potato. Now I've found all possible answers to go with the tomato soup. I've now changed that and moved on to the chicken soup. So I kept these the same and I've changed one thing on this side. So those possible answers that you've just had a go at would be the chicken soup and the pasta, chicken soup and the pizza, chicken soup and the salad, chicken soup and the jacket potato. Okay, so that's how we might record our ideas to show all possible combinations. But what if we wanted to be absolutely certain that we'd found all of our answers? Well, we knew that we had 2 starters. So I'm going to write down a 2 there, and I know that we had 4 items on our main course. So if I multiply 2 times 4, we get 8. And in fact, if we look here, we've got 8 possible answers to those food items for a meal planner. So I can see that whatever I've got on one side and whatever I've got on the other, if we multiply those together, we can actually find out how many possible answers there are to this particular correspondence problem. We're going to have a look now and take this one stage further and see what happens if we add in something else. Let's go and find some dessert. Right, okay, so we've just had a little look at finding possibilities for a starter and a main. But what if you actually want a 3-course meal? What if you want a starter, a main course and a dessert? So I've added some ice cream and a banana. Okay, we've got all of these items here. Other brands are available, of course. So what we're going to do now, we're going to think about one of the really important parts of solving these kind of problems, where we keep one thing the same and change everything else. So I started off by keeping the tomato soup the same, but now I've actually got 3 parts to my problem. So I'm going to keep the tomato soup the same, the pasta the same, and change the dessert. Let's have a go. So I could, for my starter, have tomato soup, pasta, and ice cream. Another possibility is tomato soup, pasta, and some fruit. Now I've found all possible answers for those 2 desserts, I'm going to go back to my tomato soup, but because I've then found all possible answers for the pasta, I'm going to move on to the pizza. So I could have tomato soup, pizza, and ice cream. I could have tomato soup, pizza, and some fruit. I could then have tomato soup, salad, and ice cream, tomato soup, salad, and some fruit. Tomato soup, a jacket potato and some ice cream, tomato soup, jacket potato, and some fruit. So now I've found all possible answers to go with the tomato soup. So now I'm going to move on and I'm going to go to my chicken soup. And I'm going to do the same thing. Keep that the same, keep this the same, and change those. That the same, and then swap that and change those. So I work methodically or systematically through my problem. You have a little look at the food that's on the table and see if you can have a go yourself or talk with your grown-up to see how many different possible answers there could be to have chicken soup as a starter, these 4 items for your main course, and these 2 desserts. Have a chat, have a go, pause the video, and I'll join you again in a moment. Okay, all this food is making me feel really hungry. Okay, so we had a go together at looking at how many options were available with the tomato soup, but your job is just to have a talk and think about how many different possible answers there were with the chicken soup. So using a code or some kind of abbreviation, we're going to have a go at recording some ideas now. So for my starter, I could have chicken soup and my pasta and my ice cream. I'm then going to keep my chicken soup the same, so keep that the same. I'm going to keep my pasta the same this time, and then I could have some fruit. Then I'm going to keep my chicken soup the same again, but because I found all possible answers for the pasta, because there were only 2 desserts, I'm going to move on to the pizza. So I could have chicken soup, pizza, and some ice cream. Then chicken soup, pizza, and then some fruit. And those are all the possible answers now for chicken soup and pizza, because there are only 2 desserts. So I'm going to keep going. Chicken soup. This time I'm going to think about the salad and then the ice cream. Chicken soup, the salad, and then the fruit. And then finally, the chicken soup, the jacket potato, and the ice cream. The chicken soup, the jacket potato, and the fruit. We talked about how you can use multiplication to check your answers to your problems. And so what we're going to do now, we're going to think about how many starters there were on the table. So we had 2 starters, didn't we? We had 2 tins of soup. How many mains were there? Well, there were 4. We had the pizza, the pasta, the salad, and the jacket potato. And we had 2 desserts, the ice cream and the fruit. I can multiply those numbers together using my skills from my starter activity to see if I can find all possible combinations using all of those foods. So I can do 2 times 4 times 2. 2 times 4 is 8, times 2 is 16. So there are 16 possible answers or possible combinations with all the food that we just looked at on the table. Okay, we're going to have a little look now at some steps to success for our learning, because in a moment we're going to have a look at our chilies. Okay, so we found the possible answers for the tomato soup, and then you went and found the answers for the chicken soup, and we found that we had 16 possible answers all together, and we used our multiplication to check that. We're going to look at some steps to success now, because in a moment we're going to be looking at your chilies, and we're going to be thinking about what you need to be successful in this part of the lesson. So you'll notice that when I worked in the kitchen with the items of food on the table, I changed one thing and kept everything else the same. So I kept my soup the same and just changed the mains, or I kept my soup and my main the same and changed the desserts. So just change one thing every time and do it in a methodical approach, like a system or a pattern. Keep your work organised, so that's really important. So you saw how I had a go at organising my recordings. I used a code to enable me to write that down quite quickly instead of writing out whole words. And I wrote that down in a little bit of a chart. You could make a chart using a ruler, or you can just write them down in your book. It's absolutely up to you. So use your code to record your ideas, and then use multiplication to check you found all possible answers. So look at multiplying how many of each set you've got to double check that you found all your answers. Right, let's have a look at your chilies now, and we're going to think about working a layered approach. So we'll all start with chili 1 and think about using 2 sets of foods, and then checking that with multiplication. And then we're going to have a go at moving yourselves onto chili 2. And if you can try and have a go at chili 3, then that would be great to challenge yourself. And then if you've managed that, there's an extra challenge for you at the end for you to have a look at and see if you can work out the possible answers and solve that problem. Okay, let's have a look at the chilies then. Right, year fours. So remember, we're going to do a layered approach. So this one is the Chilli 1 activities. So we're going to record your ideas in your home learning book using your own code. So remember, you're going to try to find out all possible answers, this challenge, and finding out how many different combinations of ice cream and toppings can be made. So remember to change one thing and keep everything else the same. So for example, you could have the vanilla ice cream and the sauce, and then the vanilla ice cream and the flake. Can you find all the possible answers and then write the multiplication to show the number of combinations? So pause the video now and have a go at this one in your book. Okay, so here we have the Chilli 2 and 3 activities on the same sheet. So we've got 3 sets of food in this activity. We've got a starter, main and dessert. Can you write all the possible combinations in your book using your own code? So remember to use a systematic approach. Change one thing and keep everything else the same. And then can you write a multiplication to show how many possible answers there are? Now the Chilli 3 moves away from this grid ever so slightly, although you still got to bear in mind that you've got to have a starter, a main and a dessert. So here the difference is you know that the total meal combinations is actually 20. So for example, you could have 1 starter, 1 main and 20 desserts, because 1 times 1 times 20 would give you 20 meal combinations. So you're going to have to use your multiplication for Chilli 3 to find different possible answers that would give you 20 meal combinations. Okay, so I'd like you to pause the video now and have a go at your Chilli 2, and if you can stretch yourself and challenge yourself to Chilli 3, then that will be brilliant. Okay, so we're going to check our answers together now. So these are the answers for Chilli 1. So we had 4 ice cream flavours and we had 2 toppings. So 4 times 2 is 8. There are 8 combinations. And you can see here that I've written the combinations out and I've used a code, but your code might be different. So have a look at your work and check it through with this answer sheet. So pause the video now and see how you got on. Okay, here we have the answers for the Chilli 2 problem. So we had 2 starters, 4 mains and 3 desserts. So we can see that 2 times 4 times 3 is 24. So we should have 24 possible meal combinations. I've listed them here in words so it's easier for you to mark your work. I've started using a code, but yours might be different to mine. So how did you get on with that, year 4s? Did you find them all? Did you work systematically using a pattern? Hopefully that will have helped you. Okay, so pause the video now while you're checking your work for Chilli 2. And here we've got the answers for the Chilli 3 problem. So we knew that there were 20 meal combinations, and so we needed to find ways of making 20 using 3 numbers because we had starter, main and dessert. So here we can see that we've got 1 times 1 times 20, which we talked about earlier. So one starter, 1 main and 20 desserts. But you could have 1 starter, 2 mains and 10 desserts. You might have different variations on your multiplications. You might have things the other way around. So you might have 2 times 1 times 10 or 10 times 2 times 1. Have a think about how you've got on and you can mark your work. How many did you manage to find? So pause the video now while you check. Okay, year 4, so you've looked at your chilies. Here is another problem for you to do if you'd like to take your learning further. So we've got a problem here with 2 characters and we've got to try to find out who's got the most combinations of t-shirts. So have a little look, pause the video and see if you can explain your answer. Okay, so how did you get on with that? Well, actually, Alex and Dexter both have the same number of combinations of shorts and t-shirts. They've both got 24 combinations because, as we can see, 6 times 4 is 24. So Alex has 6 t-shirts and 4 pairs of shorts. Dexter has 12 t-shirts and 2 pairs of shorts. So 12 times 2 is also 24. So they've both got the same number of combinations. Okay, so we've reached the part of the lesson now where we're going to find out who our TT Rockstars champions are and who our best class on My Maths is. So the TT Rockstars champions are indeed Finley W from 4M, Jaden D from 4B, Oliver H from 4EP and Harley V from 4S. So well done. But because we've got the same people at the top there, which is brilliant, we're really proud of you, well done. We're also going to add in some other names this week as well. These people on TT Rockstars have actually come top for lifetime earnings. And so, just to shake things up a bit this week, we've got the leader in 4EP is Alex K. In 4B, we have Joshua C. In 4M, we've got Matty W and Joshua C in 4S. So well done. So we've got lots of people to celebrate this week. Well done, everybody. My Maths, we actually have joint winners this week. And so the leaders on My Maths best classes go to 4B and 4EP. So well done, you're all working really, really hard. It's great to see. Okay, so that brings our maths lesson to a close. I hope you've enjoyed working with these correspondence problems and helping me solve my meal planners. It's been really good of you. Well done. So join us next time and work hard and stay safe. See you soon, Year 4. Bye.